Hey, welcome back to the Unconnoisseurs of Jazz, everybody. This week, I get to do my top 10 best tenor saxophone players. This is a personal list for me, and some of these may match up with the world, some of them may not, but this is my top 10. And I got to be honest, following Dad's top 10 of the drummers put some pressure on a man. So, Matt, good luck next week, too.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'm curious to see how it unfolds and how it unravels. Everybody has a different take on it, so I look forward to hearing this.
And it's a person, you know what? This is a personal list. And just like with every other list, everyone's going to have their opinion about it. So please let us know in the comments what your opinions of our lists are. I'd love to hear other opinions, even though Drew's is going to be right.
Drew's is right for Drew. Drew's is right for Drew. So I want to kick off this episode with this information first, though. To me, the most influential jazz tenor saxophone players defined the evolution of the instrument as well as jazz. For me, these artists transformed that instrument to a pioneering voice in jazz music. It started during swing. It moved through bebop, hard bop, modal jazz, even into the post-bop eras, the third stream, and our current stream of jazz. It continues to shape, this instrument continues to shape what jazz really is. And I can't think of a jazz world without a tenor saxophone in it. I love the trumpet players and look forward to Matt's list, but the tenor sax has become such a crucial part of the music. For me, especially these last 3 years, as we've studied jazz music, I've learned that it's not just about the music. It's not about the players or the instrument, but it's a history lesson for our culture and for society. So to me, the study of jazz has been the study of history. And this takes us back to the 20s, Louis Armstrong, Bix Beiderbecke, Hoagy Carmichael, and so on. So from there forward, we get to live out history through this. One of the things you'll notice on most everybody's jazz lists, that there are a lot of Black American musicians on these lists. And it's something that is to be noted. In the history of the music, the cultures that they had to come through from the 20s, 30s, 40s. Matt, I remember talking about Richmond, Indiana, and how they got the musicians in on the train cars and how they had to hide from the KKK. So this Black classical music, this African music, this American classical music, I think is how Roland Kurtz said it. It all plays into part of overcoming not just the jobs, the career, but overcoming the racism that takes place. The study of music is, in any style, a study of history. And it's the same with painting, literature, film, any form of art. So it tells us a story of humanity. I just want to start with that. This list has been extremely difficult to put together. And so I hope that we all understand where I'm coming from with my top 10. With that being said, I want to start with an honorable mention, Matt. And I have to do this because it was somebody that we enjoyed listening to. We enjoyed finding out more about her. My honorable mention is Emma Ravitch, a London-based jazz musician. She's a saxophonist, tenor, composer and band leader, and she's won Newcomer of the Year at the Parliamentary Jazz Awards in 2022. So I just want to start with that.
Man, if you're starting with Emma Ravitch, I can't wait to hear the rest of your list.
Exactly.
Well, it's a good one. So
she's good.
She's brilliant. She really is. So I've appreciated that. So I want to start with number 10 then. It took me a minute to get him on the list, and I had to shift some things around, but I have to mention Kamasi Washington at number 10. Yes, he was on our top 100 list. He sat at 98. He got 10s from both Matt and I. Kamasi, to me, has redefined what modern jazz is. his sweeping sounds, his cinematic compositions. It's as if it was designed for a stage show or a movie. His catalog is widely celebrated, but his thematic, his concepts, his ideas that he rolls out, there's no doubt that the first album that I had to put on this list to make sure y'all listen to is the Epic from 2015. So much great music on it, and it did establish him as a compositional artist and a visionary artist at a 3-hour-long album. I mean, come on. In the Epic, we both gave 10s on. It continues to shape the way I listen to modern music. So Kamasi Washington at number 10. The other album from him, Harmony of Difference. We did a Christmas album about this Christmas episode. I think it could be a Christmas album from 2017. The themes of it, cinnamon and sugar, gingerbread houses, everything in my ears. It was so sweet to me. So number 10, Kamasi Washington. My number 9, and I feel like I'm getting settled in now because, man, it's tough. This list has got me nervous, dog.
Yeah.
I've never been nervous to stare at a camera, but ooh,
Yeah,
it's tough.
exactly.
Number 9, I have Mr. Charles Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Lloyd is somebody that we covered in the top 100, and I'll probably say this a lot. We've covered him. But Charles Lloyd really needs to be given the credit for seeing the vision of the world music as it was starting to come in to the blending of the Black classical music. It was so important to him as part of the experience of music to pull in these other cultures and put them into his compositions. He started that as early as 1950, and that is saying something, knowing where we go to Indo Jazz Suite, Joe Harriott, and some of the others. Lloyd has a strange and beautiful way of presenting. He distills everything beautifully. He puts all of it into what he sees, feels, and is relevant to today's culture. I think he's still doing that, which is why I picked 2 particular albums from Mr. Charles Lloyd that I think need to be highlighted. Forest Flower, obviously live at Monterey from 1966, a live recording that we both, all 3 of us, really loved. It had Keith Jarrett on the piano.
Yep.
It had Jack DeJohnette and Cecil McBee. And it highlighted an intersection between what post-bop, what soul jazz, and even some of the early avant-garde music that we were about to experience. The Sky Will Still Be There Tomorrow from 2024 continues to shape my experience in jazz music. It was a double studio album, and it featured Jason Moran on piano, Larry Granadier on bass, and Brian Blade on drums. Somebody that could have been on Dad's list, but maybe we need to go back and do a new list of who we missed and who we should have had on it. But for Charles Lloyd to record live in 66 with a young man called Keith Jarrett, who is just new on the scene, to 2024 recording with Brian Blade, The Sky Will Still Be There Tomorrow. I think Charles Lloyd is it. To me, he's an important factor. To number 8. I have to say that number 8 to me probably could have been higher, but there's so much. I got to go to Pharoah Sanders.
Oh,
To me, Pharoah Sanders has to be on this list. He was a pioneer of spiritual jazz. To me, listening to Karma was earth-shattering and changing. He was active from 1940 to 2022, so he's got a lot of great music out there. He was celebrated for his overblowing, which I think a lot of us do struggle with, but I love that free jazz style of the overblowing. Multiphonic, so he had all kinds of stuff going on in his music, but essentially it was his overwhelming emotional feel, which labeled him as the spiritual jazz pioneer. To me, I had to look at the albums that shaped me. Karma from 1969, we still will quote it. Purple So has it impacted me, and has his tenor playing impacted me? Yes, it has. But what really shook my world is when he did Promises in 2021. And he mixed it with the London Symphony Orchestra, and he mixed it with Floating Points, an electronic band. And from Karma in 69 to Promises in 2021, Pharoah Sanders has to be there and has to be honored for that. So, I love this list. Although I'm a trumpet player, and I would have loved to have done the trumpet list, when Lily started playing the tenor saxophone, I wanted to hear who the greats were. So almost 7 years ago, maybe not quite that long, 6 years ago, I started to look into these names. So I've had a heads up on them. Matt, you encouraged me to think outside of just pulling a Google list, because everybody's got one. So I had to go back to who impacted me, when, where, and how. The genre that they were known for, the nicknames that they may have gotten through that. These are all part of where I want to go with the rest of this list. I say that because sitting pretty at number 7, Stan Getz.
Oh, the sound.
Stan Getz, known as the Sound. He was active from 1927 to 1991. Stan possessed one of the warmest sounds. He had a pristine tone in the jazz world, but he wasn't really known for that as much as he was for bringing the bossa nova to America. His nickname, The Sound, obviously because he was clean, pristine, and warm through his tenor saxophone. It wasn't until the 60s that the bossa nova hit here, which is why, going back a few, to Charles Lloyd. Charles brings the world sound in, and then Stan Getz brings the bossa nova to America. That leads me to these two albums. There's no doubt that this has been on our list. Getz Gilberto from 1964. A colossal collaboration with João Gilberto and Antonio Carlos Jobim. We listened to this album and rated it back on our top 100 list. So, shebang. The other that I want to note is Jazz Samba from 1962. That wraps up number 7, Stan Getz. Number 6 on my list is none other. There was a moment when I thought maybe I could just put him in the top 3, but Sonny Rollins. You know, we just mourned the passing of Sonny, so I tip my hat to Sonny Rollins. He was known as the saxophone colossus. Sonny was active, born in 1930, passed in 2026. Phenomenal. He was active from 1947 to 2026. One of the most important voices in the hard bop and post bop era. So I got to give it to Sonny Rollins. Being called the saxophone colossus, that's a big title right there for being a tenor sax player. He had, to me, one of the simplest ways to solo, repetitive and easy, but he had an unmatched motivic development, rhythmic ingenuity. He did things so beautifully, had so many great rhythms packed in, and it takes me to St. Thomas. If you're a jazz fan, you know the tune St. Thomas, and you know how he solos on that. That just happens to be on one of the albums that I'm going to highlight. But Sonny Rollins sits at number 6. He was incredibly deep and a powerful and motivating tenor sax man. Listen to anything that anybody's talked about. Listen to all the interviews that are on YouTube today, and you're going to find out why Sonny Rollins has to be on a top 10 list. Saxophone Colossus from 1956. Just one of his pure masterpieces. Love the entire album. The other that I love playing because Lily inspired me to was the song. However, there was an album named Tenor Madness from 1956. Famous for the title track, and I love playing Tenor Madness. It's one of my favorites to play in the group on Sunday nights.
Drew,
how many years did you say Sonny Rollins played tenor sax?
He was active from 1947 to 2026. A lot of my reading today said that in 2014 he was no longer active. He was no longer recording in studios, but he was still active.
Yeah. Wow.
Incredible history.
Yeah.
St. Thomas, probably one of my all-time favorite jazz tunes.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
But that takes me into my number 5. And I have to scroll up because I did this list backwards, one down. There were 2 camps in the early days of tenor saxophone. You either followed Coleman Hawkins or you followed Lester Young. Now, number 5 is Lester Young.
Yeah.
He was born 1909, passed away in 1959. Goodbye, pork pie hat. Lester revolutionized the instrument with its light, airy, relaxed swing style. And I want to say he revolutionized it into this easier sound, and it influenced what we later called cool jazz. His melodic approach was really different in the 40s and 50s than the other 2 names that I'm going to mention here pretty soon. However, he took a step back and he allowed that light, airy contrast of the day, which was that heavy style playing. So, Lester Young had a very similar, beautiful sound as so many others that we grew to appreciate. Lester Young was noted as Prez, or President of the tenor saxophone. There are 3 big names that were indicated as the emperors of jazz saxophone. Lester Young was one of those. Prez and Sweets, 1955. That would be Lester Young and Sweets Edison. Then I have to say that the album that I really, really, really loved was The President Plays with Oscar Peterson.
Oh, boy, yeah.
The next few names that I'm going to get to also had some banging albums with Oscar Peterson. All right. Going back to those camps, one of the most revolutionary ballad artists, absolute command over the tone and color, able to make a saxophone mimic the human voice. This man was active from 1929 to 1973. Ben Webster.
Oh, yeah.
He is one of the big 3. Ben, blank, and Lester Young. He could play a ballad that noted everybody that this is who I am. The albums that I would say, Soulville, 1958, and The King of the Tenors, which was a 1954 and a 1957 recording. He was part of the big band of Duke Ellington. He had a very different sound, romantic ballad, but he also had a growling up-tempo solo, which was the contrast between Lester Young and Ben Webster. So number 4 was Ben Webster.
Great pick.
I have to say, my 3-2-1 is going to be tough. I had it locked down earlier, but 3 got bumped from a different number. Number 3 to me, this is a man that continues to shape the way in which I listen to jazz. From his most recent album that we have discussed to one that we have discussed in the top 100. Number 3, Mr. Wayne Shorter.
Oh, yeah.
He was known in the modal. He was known for his crossover. He was known for his post-bop, known for the hard bop, known for jazz fusion, and known for third stream jazz. You can't talk about Wayne Shorter without talking about Miles Davis, Weather Report, or his new group that included Danilo Perez, Brian Blade, and John Patitucci on the bass.
Yeah.
He was a master of the modern jazz for all of us, and he brought it forward, known as a child by Mr. Gone. You can watch Zero Gravity as I did. There's so much about Wayne Shorter that I could do a 20-minute episode on just Wayne Shorter. He's played in every kind of jazz scene, and he's composed in every kind of jazz scene. Albums that I really want to make sure that we listen to. Speak No Evil from 1965. Absolutely crowning achievement. Active from 1958 to 2021. Wayne Shorter also left us. No, I'm not going for the one we just discovered, but Footprints Live from 2001.
Yeah.
Alegria is a banging album, but in 01, at 67, Wayne sits down and creates a new regular band. It's a phenomenal album to get into.
Yeah. With him at number 3, you got 2 left.
Wow.
I can guess one of them, but I can't guess the other one. So I keep going, baby. Keep going.
Rocking.
You probably already know this was a tough one between 1 and 2.
I'm surprised you put number 3 where it's at, because I know how much you love him. So so these next 2 are gonna be out of this world.
So number 2, this man was active from 1945 to 1967. He was known as Sheets of Sound, none other than Mr. John Coltrane himself. He was known for the hard bop and the spiritual jazz. So many guys got into that spiritual world in the 60s, and it moved into what we would consider the free jazz or the avant-garde jazz. John did hard bop, he did spiritual jazz, he did post-bop, and of course him and Miles and Shorter, all part of that modal jazz scene, moving into the avant-garde and the free jazz. There's so much to be said about an innovator such as John Coltrane. What he had taken from the leaders of Lester Young and the Prez, what he's moved forward in his style of playing, left us in awe. He covered the bebop, and he could push the Ascension out there, and that free jazz was amazing for me. He learned and developed a sound, but it became a spiritual thing for him. And A Love Supreme was that album. His speed redefined the saxophone. There was so much about John Coltrane that you look at and go, how do you take it to the next level? John Coltrane answered. The albums that I think that people do need to hear, A Love Supreme from 1956. It was his true spiritual jazz album. Period. I think everybody should know it. If they don't, I'm sorry that you don't. And then, of course, the other album, Giant Steps, which we thought could have been and was on the top 10 list for the Jazzwise 100 albums. It was the hard bop, but that's where you hear the sheet of sound that it was thrown at you. That's where he got that nickname, Sheets of Sound. Mm-hmm. Now, I feel like I've rushed through this, and there's so much more to discover and talk about. So I know what Dad was at when he did his episode. Number 1, and I have to say it because when you think of an instrument, and you think of Clark Terry taking an old funnel and a lead pipe and building his own horn so that he could play in the backyard. Some people take an instrument to where it should be, needs to be, or can be. And that leaves me with the third of the emperors of the tenor sax. He was nicknamed the Bean, none other than Coleman Hawkins.
Coleman Hawkins, wow.
He was active from 21 to 69. He was known in the swing and bebop. One of the things that I keep coming back to were quotes, and this is why. When I heard Hawk, I learned to play the ballads. And that was none other than Miles Davis. Over his career spanning from 1922 to 67, the Bean did 1,457 tracks.
Wow.
That's 339 sessions. And most of his output, prolific output, was on 78s. So it could have been about 200 total albums as an LP. Not only did Miles talk about him, But there was another quote here. I think Coleman Hawkins was the president first, right? As far as myself, I think I'm the second one. And that was from a fellow tenor saxophone player, Lester Young. And although Lester was considered the prez, he thinks that the prez or president of that should have been none other than Coleman Hawkins. Coleman took what was used as a backup for a trombone in a marching band. He took an instrument that was used as a rhythm section instrument and turned it into what we now know as the tenor saxophone. So when I hear a tenor sax play, I have to give credit to Coleman Hawkins for bringing that instrument to the forefront. His sound, impeccable. Taking it from a clarinet music into a tenor saxophone, phenomenal. It was used in vaudeville. Dad mentioned that in his. And it was a poor substitute for the marching bands. So you take an instrument like this and bring it to the forefront, there's no doubt why it's considered, or why Coleman Hawkins is considered the father of the tenor sax. Ooh, I did run through that list pretty quick, but
and one of the most recognizable. You know, I would say all 10 of your picks. What an amazing list! First of all,
yeah.
But they're so recognizable with their own sound. You know, you hear a Kamasi tune come on, you know it's Kamasi. You hear a Coltrane tune comes on, and you know it's Coltrane. And each one of those picks that you got, man, each one of them is so recognizable in their own right. What a great list, Drew.
I enjoyed this 2 weeks of studying for this because I had to listen to every one of these albums. What I didn't tell you is that I had my top 5 albums picked. So I had 50 albums over the last 2 weeks to just gorge on. So am I full up on jazz? I just got warmed up because this was only tenor saxophones. So, Matt, I look forward to more than anything what your list is. After hearing Dad's last week or earlier and then knowing where you're going with your list, I know how difficult it is. I know how brilliant you put information together. So I can't imagine what the trumpets are going to sound like from your top 10 list.
Well, you guys have done such an amazing job. I hope I can live up to it.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can.
You can do it. You got this. You got it covered. Right. You're a trumpeter. You've been a trumpeter since 3rd grade.
Yeah. Long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a great list. All right. You guys are amazing.
Next up, Matt, that'll be you. And then after that, we'll be back to our normal 2002 schedule. So
yeah. Yep.
Until then, gentlemen, it was good to see y'all.
See
Thank you all.
Next time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.